Thank you for joining us today for our CYPHER Live session on skills with Graham Glass. Graham is going to walk us through our skills functionality and highlight some of the ways in which we have made skills really smart and intelligent and really helped you to both automate and really take advantage of upskilling. It's been one of those things that's been out of reach for learning administrators for such a long time because it's been so labor intensive. And Graham's team has come up with a lot of really, really smart ways to manage it. So I'm excited to show you. We have Mark Schuster also on the line. So if you have any questions about any of the things that Graham is showing you, you can drop it into the Q&A. The discussion thread will just come straight to a handful of people, but QA is a great way for you to share your questions, and we will publish that out afterwards. So questions into Q&A, and either Mark will handle it or I'll bring it up with Graham. And other than that, I'm going to let Graham take it away and show off the system. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Caitlin, for the intro. So I'm Graham Glass. I'm the CEO and founder of CYPHER Learning, but my main job is actually CTO and focused on the product itself. So I'm quite a good person to talk about how we support skills in the CYPHER platform and how AI makes them much more practical to use. So I'm going to start by a little background on skills, how they evolved in the CYPHER platform, and also where they are going, because what I'm showing you today is going to evolve quite quickly over the next year. So a quick backgrounder. So a lot of people talk about skills-based learning. Some people call it competency-based learning. Some people coming from academia talk about learning outcomes. They're not all the same exact thing, but generally speaking, they represent a currency of knowledge, if you like. So you might say, hey, I am Anna, I'm a digital marketing person, and here are the various skills that I have. And so people are quite familiar with that kind of concept. And ideally, what you can do is you can tie your training to the skills that it is both teaching and assessing. And if you do that in a systematic way, then as somebody is going through their learning journey and they're taking various courses about various topics, you can actually track to a fairly high degree of resolution which skills they're interested in, which skills they have been exposed to, and which skills that they have demonstrated mastery of. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we have supported that conceptual framework in the CYPHER platform. Then I'm going to show you how we've added AI to make that much more efficient. And then I'm going to talk about where that is going. So in the early days, we really wanted for people, businesses to be able to specify, here is a set of skills. And I'm going to show you, drop down into kind of demo mode now, to show you a little bit about how that looks in the CYPHER platform. And we are using the new modern user interface. If you are a current customer of ours, you might still be in the old user interface, but there are instructions on how to upgrade to this beautiful new modern look. And to demonstrate what I'm talking about, I'm going to go to a particular course that was created by hand, the good old-fashioned way. So we've got a course here called Graphic Design Fundamentals. And in this particular course, this is the course dashboard for the instructors, but I'm going to go specifically to this area called Mastery. And what you can see here is a list of skills that are going to be taught in this particular course. So we have one skills grouping, if you like, Advanced Design Fundamentals. And inside of here is a nicely hierarchically arranged set of skills. And as I mentioned, there's different ways to talk about a skill. You can just say logo design, or if you wanted to, you could say the learner knows how to create beautiful modern logos. So different companies have different ways of describing these things. But for this webinar, I'm just going to call them skills. Now, this particular hierarchy of skills is something which is represented separately in the system from its particular usage. So if I click here, this is a particular area now where it's saying, here is an actual skills hierarchy. So you can create one of these independent of creating a course. You can edit it, you can share it within your organization or across your entire site. And as you can see here, there are ways to manipulate this hierarchy, restructure it, add additional skills. So let's just say, for example, you had one team which is responsible for defining the skills for, graphical design in your organization. They can come into here. They can say, I'm going to create a new resource, and it's going to be a skills here. You can click here and build this hierarchy. Now, once you have done that, when you create assets like a course, you can associate that course with one or more collections of skills. So in this particular case, in the graphical design fundamentals course, I associated this with these set of skills. And you can always add additional skills. If I click add skills here, use skills from a library, I can say this is also teaching 3D animator, for example, and then a separate set of skills will be shown in the course. But for right now, we're just going to say this single course is teaching this specific set of skills. And by the way, just as an aside, if you're teaching a subset of these skills, you can always select certain skills and say ignore. And then for the purposes of this course, it won't be teaching these specifically ignored skills. But let's just say that it's teaching all of the skills. So the next step you would do if you were doing this thing manually is you can go into the modules for the course. And so here are the various modules that are in the course for graphic design fundamentals. And I've got a nice set of tiles representing the modules. And I can click in a module. I can build out the content of the module, and then I can click here. And what I can say now is this particular module is going to be teaching the following skills. And this is graphically editable. So if you were doing this without the help of AI, then you would create the content for module 1, and then you would go in and explicitly check or uncheck the particular skills that this module was teaching. And now what you're doing is you're telling the system, here's where you get the content for the skill, but also you want to show where these skills are being assessed. Because ideally, you want a course to both teach a set of skills and assess those same skills. And if you do that, then you can track the progress through various skills of the learners in the course. So for example, let's just say that I've got an assessment. And CYPHER platform has an incredibly rich set of assessments. I think we've got like at least 10 different ways to assess skills, whether it's a written assessment, a quiz, a project. There is a whole bunch of discussion forums. There's all kinds of ways to assess skills. But in this particular case, if I have a particular assessment, I can come down here and click on skills, and I say, this particular written assessment is going to be assessing the following set of skills. So once you've done that now, the system knows which skills are being taught, which skills are being assessed. And if you come down to the mastery tab here, you can now get an automated coverage analysis. Now, I'm just going to break here briefly to tell you a little bit about my own background and why I made sure that we had really world-class support for skills in our platform. I'll take a quick coffee sip here. Toast to you all with my London-themed coffee cup. So I used to teach computer science at the University of Texas at Dallas. And I also used to run a training company that taught computer science to corporate customers all over the United States, especially telecom customers. And the way I used to create my courses was very systematic. I always started with, what am I going to teach? And not just a vague thing. I didn't say we're going to teach Unix, for example, but I would create my own hierarchy of all the things that I'm going to teach about Unix, but I wrote them on good old-fashioned pieces of paper, because in those days, we didn't have platforms like CYPHER. So I would create a hierarchy of here's what I'm going to teach. And as I develop the course, I might think, oh, I forgot I really need to teach this. And I would go back and add it to my hierarchy of things that I was going to teach. And then as I created the materials, I would always go back and tag by basically jotting some notes on a bit of paper. Here's the particular skills this particular module is going to teach. So the CYPHER platform, I made sure that we had that, but in a much more sophisticated way. So for example, I can see here, this particular skill, alignment, is being taught in 7 different modules, and it's being assessed in 5 different modules. And so as a result, I'm saying that this course covers this skill really well. And you can always click on that, by the way, and you can see for a particular skill, here are the 5 modules that are teaching it, and here are the assessments that are currently assessing it. So, so you can drill down and see a much more detailed analysis of how this stuff is being covered. Now, if for any reason you weren't covering a particular skill, or you were not assessing a particular skill, then this will show us orange or red. So this is a really nice feature for course designers because it allows you to see really deeply how well you're covering the skills. And then once people are taking the course, you can click on learners here, and you can see for each individual skill how a particular learner is doing at a really fine grain. And I'm not going to go too much more into detail, but you can even set up automation rules that say if someone is falling behind in a particular area, then automatically take certain actions, like send them a canned email with a link to a useful resource, like a video, for example. Or if this was in academia, you might say, hey, come to my office hours and I will help you get better at this particular area. So we've had this functionality that you are seeing right now for years, at least 5+ years. So what was the problem? The problem is that we would talk with customers and they would say, we love this conceptually, but it's just too much effort for our course designers to actually do it. So what they would do instead is they would use some portion of our platform. They would build out the modules, they'd build out the assessments, but they just would not tag it with skills because it was just too much work. And it's not easy to do auto tagging of skills. But when AI came along, and Gen AI specifically, suddenly now it was actually feasible to do automatic tagging and automatic assessment of skills. So now I'm going to show you a few ways that our platform uses AI to alleviate this problem, but then I'm going to talk about a lot more functionality that goes beyond it. So for example, everything that I've said so far, let's just say that I want to create a new hierarchy of skills, but I want AI to help me. So I can come down here and click on our floating agent button. And I can say, I would like to add some new skills. And I actually don't want to add the skills to the course. I'm going to add some skills independent of the course. So I'm going to come back to my home page here. I'm going to say add some skills. And in this case, I'm going to use 3D printing technology. And the code is going to be 3D1 and skills related to using 3D printers. And I'm going to say, get assistance from CYPHER agent. And I can specify, I want this to be advanced, for example, targeting adults. I can put additional instructions like make sure that you cover a particular kind of machine. I'm going to leave that blank for right now. You can select how many skills and what language you want them to be described in. Obviously, we support a lot of languages. And then I'm going to say continue. And we have a consumption-based model. So every time you use AI, you use a small number of credits. So this particular thing is going to cost 5 credits, which is 5 US cents. So we're literally talking cents to do this particular task. So the agent's going to work away I'm going to get a notification when it's done. And it's going to create an initial skills hierarchy based on 3D printing technology. And in the background, by the way, it's using one of the latest reasoning models. So we use premium AI throughout our site, but in certain circumstances, we want to use the ones that think really deeply. So we're using a reasoning model. It's done the task, and I can click here to review the results. So in, a minute or so, it came up with a candidate for what particular skills might be necessary if you want to master this 3D printing technology. But you can edit this. So you can go in here, you can reorganize them, you can click on a particular one, you can edit it, you can add additional skills. So the way that we view AI is it gives you a really good head start, but it's not necessarily going to do everything that you want. So if you were in charge of a division that's meant to be coming up with skills for your organization, the AI system that we're built in can really help speed that up. Now let's just say that you have created this hierarchy. And I will mention, by the way, we have built into our system thousands of existing skills maps based on United States standards like US DOL, European standards like European ESCO. If you're in K through 20, things like Common Core standards, Filipino standards, Brazilian standards, New York standards, all of these things have been automatically uploaded, but feel free to create your own. Now let's just say that you want to build a course and leveraging these particular standards. So I can come into the courses here, and I'm going to build a brand new course called 3D Printing Technology. And this might be a 12-hour course, let's just say. But I want assistance from the AI because I want to take the skills that I created and I want to build an entire course based on those. So at this point, you can specify the various different attributes that you want the course to have. So the persona, and there's a lot of different personas you can choose. Thoughtful educator is always a good one. It tends to use more analogies and worked examples. I can target, let's just say, intermediate audience here. My son has 3D printers and he's actually really into them. So this could be targeted teenagers. This might be 3D printing for building rockets, in which case you probably want adults. Writing style, academic, casual, formal, professional. We'll leave it at that. Once again, additional instructions is where you can nudge the AI in a variety of different directions to give it a bit more specificity. So you could say, use examples from space rocket construction. And it will then bring in a few examples from maybe how they use it at SpaceX or Blue Origin or companies like that. And one of the things I'm going to show off here, a brand new feature that got released earlier this week called step-by-step course generation. So typically what it will do, it'll do everything all at once, come up with the skills, come up with the module outline, come up with the sections, the whole works. But step-by-step allows you to review and edit as you go. So I'm going to showcase this particular feature. I want an AI imagery. Maybe I'll do micro-learning format gives you just micro-learning cards as you go, whereas regular course will give you a lot more detail. So I'm going to stick with the more detail here. Custom data allows you to build a course based on your own existing content like PDFs, videos, etc. In this case, I'm going to let it build from public knowledge, but you can just as well ground it in your own particular custom data. Now, this is an interesting one. So we're talking about skills. If I want to, I can click on existing skills. I could say add from library. And we created 3D printing technology. This is the one that I just created. So if you want to build a course based on an existing set of skills, either European standards, US standards, ones in your library, you can do that. Or you can say, hey, I just want you to create a new set of skills as you go. So I'm going to use this particular setting. But as I mentioned, if you had created skills already, you can align them to those skills. And the content, I'm going to use AI cross-check to check everything that's being created. I'm going to include a glossary, not a study guide. Now, this one's going to be really important. I'm going to create a quiz, and I'm going to demonstrate how it not only tags the content automatically with skills, but it tags each individual question with the skill that is assessing. And that used to be a massive amount of manual labor, and now it happens in a flash. So now as your learners go through the course, as they answer each individual question, it's tying that mastery directly to that particular skill. And I'm going to gamify it. So I'm going to kick it off. It looks like it's going to cost around $7 in consumption credits. And this is done really fast. So as I'm talking, it's going to create virtually the entire course. And as it's doing this, I'm going to explain how all this thing is tying back to skills. So because I asked the system to create the appropriate set of skills, it thinks about that first. It uses a reasoning model. And with step by step, now it says, hey, click here to review. So I'm going to click here. And here are the specific skills that it has come up with for this particular course, taking into account the audience, the language, the level, everything. It's taken that all into account. And before I click continue, I can actually go in and edit this. So I can say, hey, I want to ignore this particular skill. I want to ignore materials, or I want to, ignore slicing. But in this case, they're all important. So I reviewed it. Everything looks good. Please continue. The next thing it does is build a course overview, which would be by default how you advertise your course in the course catalog. And then once it's done that, it's going to come up with the flow of the course, the modules. And it does this, though, automatically aligning every module to the skills that that particular module is teaching. For the course overview, we're using a regular premium non-reasoning model. For the module structure, which is really critical, because that's the flow of the entire course that covers all of the skills that were generated and approved by the human, we use a premium reasoning model. So it's going to go ahead now and do that. And by the way, as an aside, the AI provider for our reasoning model dropped the price by 80% yesterday. So the cost of using these models and the cost of building a courses continues to go down. And it's quite predictable that this is an ongoing thing. So it's really nice for end customers, L&D teams who are building courses, that the cost of building a course might have been $7 today, and tomorrow it's $5, and in a year's time it's $1. It's just going to keep going down. Now, building the module structure takes a little bit longer than other things because it is reasoning, but it's still lightning fast. So I come here, click on review, and here is the course outline. So it hasn't built any of the sections yet. It hasn't built any of the content yet. It's letting you know, here is the way that I think we should teach the course. And before continuing, you can go in here and you can, drag and drop modules around if you prefer a different order. You can go into a particular module and say, this particular module, I'd like to teach slightly different skills. You can add modules, you can delete modules, you can just basically work on the flow of the course. And once you're really happy, you can click continue. And what it's doing next is it's going to look at the skills associated with a module and come up with a series of sections that will together cover the skills in that particular module. And anyone who has built skills-based training knows this is not an easy thing to do. To get that deep into the weeds and thinking about the flow of modules, the flow of sections, the specific skills. So once again, we are using a premium reasoning model. for coming up with the section structure, because this is really important. And we want the AI to think deeply and reason and go backwards, round and round to come up with a really nice course design. This one, once again, takes a little bit of time, but it already did it while I was talking. So I'm going to click here to review this. And now what it does, it automatically switches into a view mode, which is ideal for seeing the section structure. So now you can see for every module which sections it's going to be teaching, and combined, those are going to cover all of the skills that we mentioned in the course. And this is fully editable. So you can delete sections, edit sections, add sections to your HALTS content until you have got the really nice flow of the course. But it has not generated the content yet. So it's saying, I'm going to start off by talking about printer families, but it hasn't yet created the content. So once I'm really happy with how everything looks, I click on continue. And now what it's going to start doing is, based on all of your reviews and edits, it's now going to generate the content for every one of those sections. And it does this really, really fast. So one of the things that CYPHER spent a lot of time on is, how do you use AIs in parallel as opposed to just always going sequentially, so you can really speed up the course development process. So building out those 30 sections is probably going to take about 1 minute. It does this thing really fast. Now, once I've shown you all of this thing, I'm going to take a step back and talk about user-directed goals. Because once you've got the concept of skills and you are teaching skills and assessing skills, then you can use the system to say, help me to achieve a particular end goal, and let it do that automatically. So that's what we're going to do next, once it's finished up all the section content and the assessments. And while it's doing that, just to remind you, what it's doing, it's building an entire course, aligning down to the question level all of these skills that we defined up front. And notice that right now this is orange. The reason it's orange is the content hasn't been created yet. It's being created by the AI. Once the content has all been created and all the assessments have generated, this is going to turn to be all green, which indicates that the AI did a really nice job of both teaching and assessing all of the skills in the course. And if I click on one of these things, you'll notice this is what it's doing right now. This is part of its output. So this is section 1, printer families. Here are images that it's found on the web. Here are videos that it's found on the web. And of course, you can replace all those things. And notice we use another premium AI to cross-check the output from the first AI. So before you even put your human eyes in it, you will know that the AI has already put its eyes on it and approved that this content is indeed accurate. And AI cross-check is one of the things that I think is quite unique to the CYPHER platform. So you can see here, it's already generated all 30 modules. Now it's working on adding the assessments, and every assessment is being automatically tagged with the skills that it is assessing. If it's a written assessment, it will automatically generate a rubric, which will allow you, a human, to systematically score the mastery of all the assessments. So it's almost finished. It's just doing the glossary, and now it's done. So what we can see here is that it did the whole thing in 8 minutes, and now it's generating the mastery of the course. Now, once it's done that, as the learners proceed through the course, it automatically tracks their details. So what I want to show you now is a learner's view of what's going on and how it can benefit the learners. So I'm going to go, I have a particular learner that I always use, Sally Johnson. Here's Sally. This is Sally's profile page. And you can even look at the skills of a particular learner. If I click on mastery, What it's doing now is for all of these mastery groups like advanced design fundamentals, sales process, etc., you can see how well Sally is doing. And one important thing is that although you can look at a learner's skills from the lens of a course, this view is an aggregate view over time. So if you take one course a year ago and then another course 6 months later, another course yesterday, and they all teach various skills, the learner and the administrators and instructors can see the big picture of how Sally is accomplishing all of these skills over a period of time. So we'll go back to Sally, and I'm going to go ahead and log in as her. Now, from Sally's perspective, let's just say that she is in a course, the one I showed you earlier, Graphic Design Fundamentals. So Sally goes through this course, she's consuming content, she is getting assessed, she's taking quizzes, maybe it's written assessments. And now the system is building measurements of all of those skills. And we can share this with the learner. So if Sally clicks on mastery within this course, this is saying, here are all the things that currently you have already shown yourself to be very good at. These are areas that currently you have been assessed to be fair at. And this is the course level view of Sally's skills. Now, one of the things which we've released recently, which is really nice, is an AI tool to automatically teach skills. And it does this using Gen AI. It doesn't require you to have built a course in advance. So let's just say that Sally is going through this course and she's, graphical design tools and vector-based graphics, I want some additional help with. So what I can do, I can select these and click Learn Using AI. And what this does, this launches the new Learn tool, which is also powered by AI. And we're telling the AI, based on what you know about Sally, so this is completely personalized based on her interests, her job title, etc. And based on all the courses that she's in and everything else we know about Sally, I want you to individually teach Sally these particular skills. So I think this is actually amazing. And it works hand in hand with structured training. So we view it like courses are for formal, highly structured training, and the Learn tool is for learning in the moment, anything. So now what Sally can look at is, here are the skills that I'm, sort of doing okay at. Maybe I want to learn about vector file formats. So I have random access. I can look at the concept map, go straight to a particular concept, or I can take this sequentially like a interactive tutorial. So once I've seen something, I can just click next if I want to kind of read it like a book. And you might notice in the upper right hand, we are using AI crosscheck in real time to make sure that the Learn tool is outputting accurate information. And I can talk to the AI. I can say, tell me a little more about Corel Draw. So it's not a book, because a book is a one-way thing, and a book is not personalized. This is personalized, generated just in time, just for you, and it's something that you can talk with and banter backwards and forwards to dig in. So these are two different ways that we see organizations can help people to learn skills, and through both structured training and through the AI. And I will mention in passing that you don't have to be inside of a course to learn using AI. I can actually click this at any time, bring up CYPHER Agent to help me learn things using AI, click on Learn, and I can just say, I want to know about digital leadership skills. And now the Learn tool, powered by Gen AI, is going to come up with custom ways to teach you about all the skills involved in digital leadership. And we really see the future of learning as being powered by both courses and by learning in the moment. And here is a way to learn about these particular skills in real time. Now let's take a step back and say, well, I'm a learner. I know about all the various different skills that I want to get good at. And now what I want to do is I want to have a system that automatically helps me to get those skills. So built into our platform is also something called goals. And you can add goals. So I can say, I have a new learning goal, which could be a certain job I'm interested in, or it could be a certain skills that I want to master. Now, if it was a job, for example, I might say, I'm really interested in becoming a software architect. I'm just kind of making something up here. Software architect. Now, we have pre-populated that job with a set of skills that are needed for that job. And through the CYPHER platform, you can customize new job titles and you can customize the skills that are necessary to be good at that job. And once you have submitted a new goal, so here is software architect, it will automatically track the skills mastery that you have for the skills for that job. So for example, if I go to digital marketing manager, this is a skill that a goal that I've told the system I want. It's now showing you, here is a summary of all the skills that you have got so far. Here are the ones that you're missing. And in recommendations, it will give you automatic recommendations on how to get better at those skills. So in this case, it's actually recommending that you join a group. The CYPHER platform is the only platform in the world where you can associate skills with groups. So a social group, if you join this group, there's a very high chance that you will get better at a particular skill. So it's not just courses, but it's also groups, social learning, which can result in improved skills. And if you're behind, and here in your goals dashboard, I'm behind certain skills, you can select them and say, hey, I'd like to learn those using AI. So what we're trying to do is to integrate this AI agent concept all over our system. So anytime you want to get better at something, it's just a couple of clicks away. So we're getting to the end of the demo of what we have in the here and now, but it's never complete until I talk about where we are going. So we have a very aggressive, ambitious roadmap for what we're doing with skills in the next 6 months. Sorry, not 6 months. But we're gonna hit the mark. We've already got a lot of this stuff working. So we are working on a whole bunch of additional capabilities, all powered by Gen AI, that will go much deeper in the way that they help you to both achieve skills, how to assess your skills, and how to practice your skills. And if you've ever seen Iron Man, and you know Jarvis is coming for learning. So by the end of this year, you're going to be able to talk to your CYPHER agent, and you will have an amazing learning experience in terms of how to get better at things, how to practice your skills, how to assess your skills. So what I'm showing you today in the CYPHER agent is really just scratching the surface of where CYPHER is going. Now, at this point, I'm going to stop my screen sharing, and we're going to go through any questions that anyone might have. And if Mark and Caitlin are there, feel free to interject, mention any particular questions that have come up or anything you think that I should cover.
Sure. Well, we got a couple of questions about whether videos will be incorporated for managing skills. Mark has answered it, but if you have any comments that you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is that we allow any kind of material to be tagged and incorporated into the learning experience. So if you have a video, for example, that covers a bunch of topics, you can automatically create a course from that video, and it will decompose the video, automatically figure out everything that occurs in it, and create an entire course around that video with everything tagged very deeply, including creating quizzes and written assessments, etc., for assessing those skills. But you can do the same thing with Microsoft Word documents, PDFs, you name it.
Right. And then we've got a good question about how how to leverage, referred to as Copilot 360, we're now referring to this as CYPHER Agent, in a way to support personalized learning. So I referred them to your last webinar on the CYPHER Agent for
Yeah.
learners, but which you did show a little bit here, but would you add anything to that?
Yeah, so I will say very soon, Copilot is going to morph into Cypher Agent for everybody.
Yeah.
So Copilot was like our pre-agent view of the world. It was more, it does something with you, but it's not necessarily going to teach you interactively. That's more agent-like. But the learn tool that I demonstrated today is something that's our first kind of agentic use of AI. But as I mentioned, we have lots more capabilities coming out between now and the end of the year. So the learn tool, which I showed you, will be part of Cypher Agent. Everyone will have access to it within a small amount of time. And at that point, you'll be able to play around with it yourself, see if you like it, decide whether you want to roll it out to your learners now or maybe later on in the year. But Cypher Agent helping the learners more and more to achieve their learning objectives is the entire purpose. Well, not the entire purpose. 90% of the purpose of Cypher Agent.
Yes. And I think what you were able to show today too is that the CYPHER agent for learners will help close the skill gap, like the skills and learner agent, along with your formal courses, that it's a holistic approach to helping organizations close their skill gaps
Yeah, you make a very good point. Like we are integrating these tools deeper and deeper so
yeah,
that when you take a course, you can click on skills and learn them using the learning agent. And very soon, the learning agent is going to start recommending courses as well. So it's like a two-way thing. I will also mention that the learner agent will soon support proprietary data. So if you have a particular way that you do, sales, for example, in your company, or the certain way you do engineering or 3D printing, then you'll be able to click on a bunch of documents that are your way of doing things. And the learner tool that I showed will ingest those and will use those in preference to public knowledge. So the
yeah,
learner tool is not going to be restricted just to public knowledge in the same way that the course tool already can build courses from proprietary information.
right. No, that's great to know. So to wrap this up today, I want to thank Graham very much for his time. This recording will be sent out to everybody who's registered for this session. As always, all of our CYPHER Live and our CYPHER Pro Tip sessions are hosted on our website and on our YouTube channel. So cypherlearning.com, just check the resources link, or the CYPHER Learning YouTube channel. We have playlists for these are available. And as Graham did tease out, we are getting ready to roll out CYPHER Agent for learners and make it available to all of our customers with a small amount of credits for you to test it out and see how that works. And we'll be delivering you a really helpful adoption kit to help you figure out how you want to integrate this into your learning strategy. So please keep an eye on your emails for that information. That'll be available to all customers very soon. By later this month, you'll hear from us on that. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Look for this recording and more information from us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Bye.
Bye.